Today is Thursday, that of the 9th day of August, 2018. This is your crypto day morning. My name is Derek. I'd like to welcome you to the Money Charts channel. And like always, all bets, all trades, and of the like, within your own risk, your own reward. The neckline for the inverted head and shoulders pattern, obviously finding no support and having a leg lower. So the support test is now going to be the support of the two cups in the inverted head and shoulders pattern, or the low 6,000 figure area. On the triple day time frame, we're seeing how it is just going below this 18 average of lows. I did not like the fact that I seen the price not support the neckline, this conjunction within this 18 average of lows. It could still have a very large pierce below it, recovered, and do what it needs to do. The key word for that is could. There are 32 NFL teams that could win several games and move on to the NFL Super Bowl. Only one can do so mathematically. And of course, I can say all the things that could and could not happen, and it's always going to go down to probability odds. And thus, when the price action does not find support in the area that I was looking for, or the general area that it usually would find a successful correction on the situation of break of the 6,700 move to 8,400, well, then that increases the chances that the move is that of a failed one. And a failed one would constitute such that would first see the failure like we're seeing, break a key level of support, and this key level of support ranging from around 6,400 down to about 58. That is that major level. For if it just comes down to it again and just does its thing in there, stays in this mode, and then bounces up again, we'd be talking about a fourth time hit of support, with previous resistance coming in at about 12,000, 10,000, and then most recently here at around 85. But for a while now, ever since this thing has been starting to decline in the middle to late stages of March, I've been talking about a $3,000 price objective based on exponential Fibonacci from the lows of about 150 or so back in here, and the highs in at around 20,000. A 23.6% correction. That's a relatively small one, but still it's a Fibonacci correction. 6,000 and change. It has found monstrous support at this level. And thus, if this level of support is not able to hold because of, well, unable to have a rally and extended time amongst its price action that it has, that the next one that it would probably go down to is that of about 3,000, with Fibonacci just a little bit above that point. And then when scrolling back, as we can see again here, that it's had that little bit of a rally. Now the news apparently towards this is that the SEC is going to delay the ETF announcement, which was supposed to take place late as it was anyway, at least in my view, well into this month of August. And this was, of course, a while back. This is a 3-day time frame. This is, of course, what sparked this now about 3 weeks ago. And therefore, it's now going to take into September. It could very easily, mathematically, on a technical and fundamental level, make sense that the move to 3,000 can coincide, thus occur before such an event, and then just start having a bull market from that point. And maybe, just maybe, that would be that of a key bottom. Now, whether it's going to be a very good end of the year, because there seems to be a lot of optimism amongst this situation, and thus the end of what has been a very long bear market for this topped in the middle of December. And well, now we're moving into the middle of August. That's a very good chunk of the year. And maybe it will be multiple years. I'm guessing no, but use that word yes in my analysis within of course, within your analysis, that is, in such. Now, fundamentally speaking, when we try to put fundamentals and technicals together, who were the ones that were buying this market up? Because the alternate coins were not going up, at least nowhere near this rate of ascent Bitcoin was. And that's not how it's supposed to be, quote unquote, in that, oh, you find a move or Bitcoin goes up, like, say, in a long period of time, 2.5x. Oh, how are the other coins doing? 8x, 10x, 6x. Oh, I got the picture. But then during this decline, oh, Bitcoin is down a little over 3x. How are the other coins doing? Oh, they're greater than that so far, towards the downside. Some of them significantly greater than that. So the percentage moves up and down. I'm expecting Bitcoin to have the lower end of the stick. And quickly moving on to the short-term analysis, before we get into silver. Yes, we'll get into some silver. So in the 15-minute time frame, we can see that it's had this, well, since the 7,000 decline, this is the best correction in which it has been having over the last couple of days, as it has spent a significant amount of time within this 18. It was even able to retest this area on a couple of occasions, but now has made a move to the lower end of this range on decent sized volume as the business day begins. This is 8:15 a.m. Eastern time. Looking at this on, say, a triple hour time frame, there was a much better correction, of course, from here towards this point. There was a double top in this sideways range, and then it broke support, and it has just not regained really any of it whatsoever since that point. It has not quite, but close, or barely, you could almost say, had a sideways correction within the 18, but regardless of whether it's official or not, the eye test says that this has had a little bit of the sideways move. And if you start to notice decent size, red size ticks, volume going much higher, at least back to where it was before on the higher ends, that we could be looking for a leg lower. And given how close that we are to the, to that big zone area, 5,800-ish or so area, that thing pops. Who knows how large the volatility, as it would look to be approaching its next target to 3,000, would come into. All right, then, let's move on to the silver chart. And I want to do so by showing a lot of periods first, where the 18 average is just like a whatever now when I look at it, at least anyway. And there's been a lot of up and down choppy action through 2017 and into 2018. What had been relatively consistent was deep support at around 15 2/3. Especially lately in this year, key support was in at about 16.20. And then we had a whole big flu of lower highs, 17.25, 17.67, 18.15, then a couple times here again at 18.47. And getting past those, we got a few more up towards 21. And getting past 21, there's many more than even there after that. Okay. Well, we can see that since it is broken down not only below the 1612, but even below this level here, the lows from December of last year, that it has been just congesting between 1520, 1561, and all that type of deal. Okay, so that's the lower prices. But for me, given that I've been buying in Bitcoin, that really isn't. Is this to tell me that there's an indicator that this could come down lower to the 14s and all that type of stuff? Well, maybe. Most certainly it could very well do such an occurrence. But for me, my primary way of looking at this is going to be against Bitcoin. I'm going to do that very soon, but before I do, a lot of these moves are done with artificial silver, and maybe not a lot, possibly all of them, but I'll use a lot, are done with artificial silver. And thus, is it getting a true mechanism of it? Is there any type of quote unquote manipulation? And when you think about the word manipulation in markets will never end, because humans as a species are very good at manipulating, because when you think of what that is using creative thinking into action. And thus it's almost like magic, because people don't understand it, are unable to do such within their individual abilities. So the few that can, well, they're going to manipulate things. Sidney Crosby on the ice is going to manipulate his way to success, as LeBron James has done so with all of these amazing ball fakes, or however you want to look at it from that point of view. And within the rules that are available to be within it, if the rules are very luxurious, if you will, then that opens up more, quote unquote, manipulation along the way. And with the Bitcoin prices even going down lately as it is, there could be people within the announcement, oh, it's going to be longer. Well, why don't we just use some FUD, some FUD, get these Bitcoin prices lower, considering we got a long ways to go in our accumulation. That's the ETF builders. Then why don't we just get the FUD to bring the price down and then just buy it back up? We're doing it very good in these other markets like the Forex and COMEX, this being one example of a COMEX market. Here is silver now against Bitcoin. And really, it's Bitcoin against silver. There's no dates on the bottom of the screen, rather how many weeks since. So there's over 370 weeks. And the ratio is about 400 to 1 now, which means for every 1 Bitcoin you have, you will get about 400 ounces of silver. Of course, subtract any kind of premiums that may be needed to be paid one way or another, either that of liquidating out of Bitcoin or paying the premium on silver. Either way, that's how it stands. If we put any type of trend lines in here, you know, I'm really not a big fan of such a degree, but I mean, you just look at where price stands. It goes up, then you have your high for Bitcoin back then of 1200. It goes sideways like it did, and down and sideways like it did against the dollar. It's pretty much the same chart. So for me, when I'm looking at buying silver with cryptocurrency, it has very little regard, the price of silver that is, to whether I buy, because when this goes up, I'm going to want to liquidate out of Bitcoin. One way, of course, is definitely that of physical silver. So let me take a look at this chart again, but only look at the last few periods to make it easier. And here we see it, the last 190 plus weeks down to 400. It was even over 1200. And this doesn't include intraday highs by any means. This is just me taking data from bitcoincharts.com and investing.com and taking weekly data for both Bitcoin and silver and dividing the two numbers and making a spreadsheet. That's all this is. And for myself, as this thing was starting to break out, really from even around here, small purchases every so often, and then when they came higher, larger purchases because the value was there. Some buys along the way in here. I didn't buy as large as I should have, I thought, but I'm still getting a decent price here. And I haven't bought silver with Bitcoin in what seems years, but in reality has been months. And I'm not going to need to do so myself as a trader, unless maybe we're going to bottom Bitcoin. This will start to go back up, and then I'll turn cryptos into silver again. Yeah. And if if Bitcoin goes down to 3,000, then this thing is going to go down to this little area here. And in such an event, am I going to turn silver into cryptos? No. I have a very good and will have a very good crypto performance or balance, even at a price down to 3,000, that I still do not want to turn cryptos into silver. And I don't have, even though I have a lot more silver now because of these accumulation periods of silver, I don't really want to turn it into cryptos, although that would be much easier to do nowadays than it would before. But throwing that part aside, if it were to come down here and then the price were to start to rally, when would my rebuy start entry period come in? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets back to 400, 425, given that would mean Bitcoin going from 3,000 back to 6,000, that I would be looking to start accumulating or making more purchases, because I would be confident that along the way of going from 3 to 6, that alternate coins would be doing well, and my trading would enable me to increase a little bit where I could at least afford to make a small purchase. That's my point of view. And if you're ever going to say, hey, should I buy silver, and I don't really know you, well, I'll tell you the reason, generally speaking, why you should have a bunch of it. But given your situation, everybody is in different spots. I could have came out and made a bet. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of silver here. I mean a lot. And if this thing comes back down, I'm going to turn that silver into cash, into Bitcoin, and it's going to be fun. And I could have done that strategy, but I didn't. And those who did, well, if that price gets down there towards you, congratulations, that would be a winning trade. Anyway, this video is now over. It's close to 20 minutes. A lot of them before have, and the video length will be however long it feels for me to do what I need to show. And well, this case, it was close to 20 minutes. And I could have done it in 2, but that means I have to push the record button twice, the stop button twice, the upload button twice, and I don't really feel like that. So thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.